Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. It's a couple minutes after 2 o'clock here. Thank you all for joining us on this very strange weather day, very intense day. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe and warm out there. Great to have you here. This is the March Nebraska Regional Food Systems Initiative Network meeting. I'm glad to have you all with us. A couple agenda items here, and I'm going to make a few announcements about a couple things happening or things that I want to make you aware of, and then I'm going to turn it over to Terri James to talk about her couple of her programs, Backyard Farmer and Growing Together Nebraska, which will be a great opportunity to learn about these excellent programs. If you wouldn't mind, just kind of in the chat box, if you could just enter your name, where you're at, and if you're representing an organization or a farm business or whatever the case might be, go ahead and add that with you. With that post in the chat box, we like to know who's on the call and make sure everybody's kind of connected to each other. Um, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to make just a couple announcements here. So I'm getting lots of questions from folks about the Business Builder subaward grants from the Heartland Regional Food Business Center. I want to just address that here and also kind of give you a little update on where we're at. Like with most things USDA related right now and federal funding related, we are kind of on a funding freeze, a pause. We've been instructed by the USDA to hold off on opening our round two applications for now. We do have everything kind of ready. All of our documents and our request for applications is revised and ready to go. But we're going to sit on that for a little bit until USDA says that we can go ahead with that. We are still hoping to open that up yet in March, but obviously there's a lot of uncertainty there. So we cannot guarantee that that's going to happen, but really hoping we can get that out as soon as possible so folks can start working on their applications for round two. We have informed all the finalists from round one that they are on the list to be funded, but technically they're finalists right now. We're not listing them as awarded again until we kind of get that green light from the USDA that the funding will be coming through, at which point those folks will be able to sign contracts with UNL and start their projects. But as of right now, they're notified. We're going to put out some press release information next week about the finalists from all 5 states, including the folks here in Nebraska. Just really appreciate your patience as we work through this kind of period of uncertainty here. We are in pretty frequent communication with the USDA and our kind of grants folks at UNL to kind of work through this process. So, but in the meantime, we are still available to help provide technical assistance to anyone who has questions. Might be about your business development, kind of getting ducks in a row for round two applications. If you have questions about that, we are still here. Heartland foodbusinesscenter.org is our website. You can sign up. You can also just email me, and I'm happy to get you connected with someone who can help answer your questions. So again, thank you for your patience on that. Do have a little request for you, if you don't mind, if you've got time to help us think about some information. We are working on a new grant proposal that would help us kind of better understand the challenges and barriers that exist for our small scale producers and processors to get their products to those institutional and retail buyers, everything from schools, hospitals, universities, down to your retail grocery stores. We do have this spreadsheet set up. It's a Google spreadsheet. We've got, looks like 4 questions and a space for some comments there, kind of asking, what are the challenges for small producers to get their products to those buyers? What strategies might address those challenges? What do producers and processors need to know, et cetera? QR code here is there for that. That'll take you right to the spreadsheet if you want to use that. I will also put the link in the chat here in just a few minutes. But appreciate anybody's feedback as we kind of move forward with collecting this information and getting ready for this proposal. So more on that to come. I did also want to promote that Nebraska Regional Food Systems Initiative has a YouTube page. We have 30 plus videos on there covering a range of topics. Some of it is these meetings where we have guest speakers talking about different programs and projects. Some of them are from our past conferences where we had guest speakers from all over the country talking about different aspects of local food sustainability and sustainable food systems. There's some really excellent webinars and trainings in there. And we will continue to add. I'm up actually in the process of adding some new videos from our recent webinars up to this page. And just want to make sure you're aware of that. Encourage you to take a look at what's up there and spread the word if you don't mind. And with that, I'm going to stop there. Just a quick couple announcements there, but it's my pleasure to turn this over to Terri James. Terri's an extension educator at the University of Nebraska and helps oversee the Master Gardener program at the university. She's going to be talking today about a program I'm sure you're all very familiar with, Backyard Farmer. It's been in what, 50 years or so, close, Terri, that's been in action?
73.
There you go. A little more than I thought. 73, so that's incredible. And then Growing Together Nebraska, which is a newer program, but that's doing really incredible work. So I'm going to stop my share and I'll turn it over to Terri.
All right, let me see if I can get this share to work on my side. You guys see that? Okay. Okay. All right. Let me get this guy out of the way. All right. Okay. So probably maybe appropriate to be doing this talk on a day like today, maybe not quite for sure. But like Ben said, my name is Terri James. I am an extension educator in the Department of Agronomy and Horticulture. My main background is both of my degrees are within the horticulture realm, landscape design and public gardening were my two main focus areas for my degrees. I have some pretty vast knowledge and hands-on experience when it comes to management of public gardens. I managed the state fairgrounds before I came to the university for 10 years. So it was 250 acres that I managed with a crew of about 3 people. Sometimes 5 in the summertime, depending on budgets. So what I want to talk to you today about is, let's see if I can get this to work, is the Growing Together Nebraska project. That is one that I'm very hands-on with. It's connected to the Master Gardener program, which is what I will also kind of give you a background of. And then I'll finish this up with a little bit of information and background on Backyard Farmer. So the the Growing Together Nebraska Garden or project is a collaborative initiative. It's focused on food security, community development, and the urban ag. So it's really a partnership between Nebraska Extension, lots of other community organizations. And we really do aim to improve and access fresh, healthy produce. And within that, then we often sometimes help to foster some economic and educational opportunities within those communities. We do engage with a lot of local communities in that gardening and urban ag kind of realm with some workshops and educational opportunities and educational information. So the mission, like I said, is basically to enhance food security and nutrition through a community-led gardening and agricultural education. So we're increasing locally grown produce. I think even after now, but COVID really opened our eyes as to how scarce local and fresh produce can be. And then now looking at some climate changes and those kinds of things, making sure that we are able to have that local produce is really helpful. And then it also helps the food security, especially for those that are not able to get that fresh produce. We also promote sustainability in agricultural practices. So we're always talking good agriculture and integrated pest management. This group or a project really does help strengthen community engagement and volunteerism. The Master Gardener program is part of this, so it's really connected to both that SNAP Ed side and the Master Gardener side within Nebraska Extension. So this program is actually a multi-state program. So this is the 2024 data that came from the 7 states that you see highlighted on here. It's Iowa State was the initiating university for this. But since then, Michigan State, Montana State, Purdue, University of Illinois, University of Nebraska, University of Wisconsin, and University of Wyoming have all also come on board on doing this project. So you can see that there's a lot that has been leveraged and supported within this project across these 7 states. So you can see 608 master gardeners contributed time and project to this project, 167,000 of leveraged in community funding to support this work. 281 food pantries were distributing this fresh produce, and 23,811 people were reached with nutritional messaging and food distributions at the food distribution sites where this produce was donated at. So just to give you a little background of this project, we're actually I just actually jumped off the webinar, the first webinar for the initiation. The project gets announced usually in December or January, and those applications get announced and opened, and then February is when they're usually due. It does have to tie back to an extension county, and there's approximately $3,000 per county to be able to be used. And you can use it in more than one location. So we do have several counties that have multiple sites across to their area. And then in 1st of March, those applications are usually reviewed, and then funds are awarded end of March, 1st of April. So then through March and April, while all the work is going, there's planning, planting, gardening, management, harvesting, donating, educating, reporting, and then we actually do meet monthly as a team, discuss any kind of issues within their garden or the education side of this. But it's really a great project to be able to be a part of. You can see here, this shows you the 12 counties that we had representation for this project in 2024. So, kind of more heavy on the eastern third of the state, but we do have some representation in the western part of the state also. And then this is just kind of the just specific Nebraska update for what was happening within the gardens in our 12 locations. So 44,000 pounds plus was donated. I think I have a better picture of this, but really this is providing a lot of good resources for people. Okay, here, 44,000 pounds were donated. That fed 20,000 individuals, 346 volunteers, 87 of those were Extension Master Gardeners, and they were contributing over 8,000 volunteer hours to this. There's a formula that we use to generate volunteer hours, the net worth of that. So that you're looking at over $250,000 worth of added value from that volunteer time. We had over 300,000 pounds donated, providing 900,000 surveying since the initiation of this project in 2016. So over these 9+ years, we've been able to provide a lot of healthy food for people across the state. And then 90% of those or that are going to the food donation pantries to get this, they're getting education. So the master gardeners are growing it, or so my side of the house is growing it. And then that's when the food and nutrition people come in after it's donated, and they're able to kind of give the information to those people picking up that produce. And this is just one example of the things that they are able to give to the people that are getting this produce. They've created kind of these seasonal produce handouts. So they're talking about specific produce items. This is just the first one that I grabbed. A is for apple. And so it's telling you when that fresh produce is really at its height in production, and when it would be locally sourced, what you could make out of it, how to store it, how to really make good selections of it, and why you should be eating this. So the really great thing about this is, again, being able to provide that produce to people that may not be able to afford fresh produce, and then being able to show them really how to use that produce and eat this produce, and really what will it do for your body. Some gardens that have been doing this for a few years have kind of catered to the specific food banks that they go to. So they've kind of moved into, maybe it's somebody that's wanting, some eggplants or hot peppers or potatoes or whatever, and they've really catered to what they are growing to specifically meet the needs of the people that this produce is getting donated to. I just want to tell you that it's not just me that does this. I have a great colleague, Natalie Seahigh, over the food and nutrition department. She is I'd say she's the brains behind it. She's the one that manages all of the spreadsheets and stuff for all of the funds that need to get paid out of this. So I'm going to give her most of the credit. It's a lot easier to manage the garden than manage the finances. But if anybody's interested in learning more about this program, please let me know, or you can contact Natalie or I or both of us. I would be happy to help you get this. Again, like I said, it has to be connected back to an extension program of one kind or another. So if you're across the state, you can connect with your local extension educator, and they would be able to help get a hold of us also if you can't get a hold of us otherwise. So I kind of talked about the Nebraska Master Gardener program within this, and I just kind of wanted to give you kind of an overlook of what this program does. So this program is a volunteer-based horticultural education program where we are giving and doing outreach for the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. We provide science-based horticultural information to those people interested, and then those people go out into the community and share that knowledge that we've given them. So the classes are all trained by University of Nebraska Extension staff, faculty, and industry professionals using, again, science-based information. What we really do, though, is we give you that science-based information, and then what we go out and connect back through the community, through community outreach and education. All of our volunteer projects, just as the Growing Together Nebraska project shows, we do the education, and then it has to be the volunteer project has to have an educational component to it, whether it be active or passive. So we are teaching the gardening information in the garden, and then we are able then to hand it over to the SNAP Ed people and the food nutrition people to be able to give that science-based education on the food and nutrition side. So it's a really win-win for the Growing Together Nebraska project. If you're interested in the Master Gardener program, those new students receive 40 hours of education. That education is a core curriculum that's offered across the state in multiple different counties. We cover everything from plant biology, insects, soil health, integrated pest management, design, and much more. So they get 40 hours of education, and then they come back out and then give 40 hours of their time back into some of those volunteer community projects that they do across the state. There's just a handful here. There were some people talking design in one, some people doing some bee uh, education, some people working in the backyard farmer garden, planting in a community garden. So those are just kind of some of those things. They also answer lots of gardening questions. We have lots of Ask a Master Gardener tables and workshops and demonstrations that really help assist the community and help with school gardens to Growing Together Nebraska. There's also several that write articles and do social media posts and stuff all about that science-based horticulture that we teach them. We have lots of master gardeners. I have a couple that have been in the program for over 40 years. So if you are continuing in it, then each year those volunteers continue to learn. They are required to take at least a minimum of 15 hours or 10 hours of education and 20 hours of volunteer time. There are many counties that actually have increased that to a higher level. So depending on where you live, it could be a little bit more, but those master gardeners continue to learn each year about more and more information and more of that science-based horticultural information, and then continue to give back to their communities. So just a few by the numbers for 2024 for the master gardener. We had 674 active master gardeners across the state. We had 117 new ones that were trained in 2024. And we represent or have master gardeners in 54 of the 93 counties across the state. And they gave 31,400 volunteer hours. And a lot of them have these donation gardens that are not connected to the Growing Together Nebraska project. So in total, the master gardeners actually did grow, glean, or produce and donated over 63,000 pounds of produce across the state in 2024. So this is about 20,000 more pounds were grown by other gardens across the state beyond what the GTN gardens grew last year. So this is really something that we're very proud of and like to really hold up within our communities. So any questions about the Master Gardener program or the Growing Together Nebraska program before I move on to the Backyard Farmer Garden? I can't see any of you because of the way my computer's set up. So you'll just have to like unmute yourself and shout out. All right, well, we'll keep moving. So the Backyard Farmer Garden, this is a mouthful every time I have to say this. It's the longest running locally produced non-syndicated television show in the nation. In 2 weeks, we'll be starting our 73rd season. It airs the first Thursday of April through mid-September. Oftentimes we joke that we get kicked off because of Big Red wrap up because football is more important in this state than gardening. But actually we get kicked off because of volleyball, which probably is actually more important than football anymore in this state. But the television crew that we work with through Nebraska Public Media also do Big Ten games, and they do a lot of the volleyball. And there's just not enough time in order to be able to do both. So we do end before the gardening season, but that doesn't mean that we stop producing things. We are continually producing information year round now. So our reach is about 155,000 touches during the height of the growing season. So obviously that does go down when it's blizzarding outside in March. But that's about our average during the growing season. We also do usually take the show on the road a couple times a year. So we did 2 remote tapings with about 500 plus people in those 2 audiences. So having the live audience is really fun to be able to do. And then we host 3 open houses. The Backyard Farmer television show has the Backyard Farmer Garden located on East Campus. We, in conjunction with East Campus Discovery Days, have 3 open houses. We usually have between 300 and 400 people walk through our gardens on those specific days. I wish I could figure out a way to track people within our garden year round. But we have lots of people walking through our garden. So if you are interested, you're more than welcome to stop by and visit our garden anytime. But our reach is well beyond just the television show. Like I said, we have a YouTube channel. We have multiple social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We are posting to all of those. We also in January started a newsletter. So we started with approximately 1,500 people on our newsletter, and we are now up to over 5,000 that are reading our newsletter on a monthly basis. All of our television shows are taped and updated to our YouTube channel, so you're able to watch those. So if you are out in the garden, which I would rather be out in the garden than inside doing any kind of taping or answering phones or something on Thursday nights, but you are welcome to watch the recordings. And then we are also within our social media channels doing reels and shorts, both on YouTube and Facebook. So all winter long, we have been doing reels and shorts. So you can visit our social media to be able to see some of those. Oftentimes we get lots of ideas from the people that we work with or connect with. A lot of our stakeholders have sent in ideas for some of our shorts and stuff. So if you have any ideas, we're always welcome to entertain those and see if we can get those to work out. We now have an editor that we're able to help. That's the person that's helping with our newsletter. We have 2 producers. We have one that's connected to Nebraska Public Media that does some of our videos. And then we have our producer that's connected to INR Media. So we do a lot of things. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but it is a great resource for anybody who's looking at getting, again, some of that science-based horticultural information. So any questions? I can end this, and this will